Hello guys, welcome to the practical session of the course on starting and building a career in cybersecurity. I'm John Paul Tahiru, the cybersecurity tutor. Um, on today's session, we're going to be carrying out a vulnerability analysis using Nmap. Going to be manually scanning for vulnerabilities on networks and domains. And on this session, we'll be using the Metasploitable framework, which is made vulnerable for a practical lab session such as this. So I already have my Kali Linux running. I also have my Metasploitable running. So we'll go right in. Alright, so I'll log in with my password and I'll log in with my username and password. So while it's logging, I'll also log in on my Metasploitable with my default credentials. The default credentials for every Metasploitable user is MSF admin. Okay, password is still MSF admin, and your password is not visible due to the security policies on Linux. It's making password visible, so um, someone cannot steal your credentials. Alright, so we log in and we're gonna check our IP address, which is ifconfig. Okay, so you can see our IP address on 80 inet address. You can see because my cursor can hover over it, but we can see it 192.168.43.193. Okay, so let's go back to uh, Kali Linux machine already in the Windows emulator. Okay, still loading. Okay, so now move our cursor to our terminal emulator and we're going to use the Nmap to scan uh, sudo nmap dash sv, of course our version scan. Okay, we still want to get our IP address. Okay, 192.168.43.193. Okay, so we now use IP address 192.168.4, is it 43 or 48? Let me check again. At 43.193. Okay, dot 43.193. Now that's the IP address of our Metasploitable. Okay, it's requiring my password. Okay, so it's scattered through the Metasploitable with this basic nmap command. Okay, we have an output here. We have the available ports opening on the Metasploitable. We have a state port, state, service, and version. And because we'll be manually checking for vulnerabilities, um, a lot of networks and even domains tend to hide their version of the ports they're using on their framework. Basically, because once hackers have enough information on the available ports running on your network, they will easily exploit or hack your network or system or even domain. So for this, scan outputting a version, it's already target this um, IP address as vulnerable, because most IP addresses that are behind firewalls, behind some IPS and then IDS, intrusion prevention systems and intrusion dictation systems, tends to hide the versions of the ports running, because the versions of your port, once they're available to an attacker, it's already making the ports vulnerable. And so let me prove to you, once we have a version open, an experienced hacker will simply, of course, gonna walk us through the manual way of getting this. We're just gonna copy this version vs FTPD, of course, a very secure file transportable domain daemon. We're gonna use copy this, and then we're gonna go on our browser. I'm gonna paste very secure file transmission. So we're gonna type exploit. Okay, so once you copy the version, you just type exploit on, and then you search. Okay, we can see that with the exploit, this will give us certain exploit that will exploit this version of the port. Okay, we can see the VSFTP is susceptible to backdoor command execution. We can see it's also vulnerability analysis have also been performed. If you scroll through, and then we can see a very common vulnerability exploit on this. Now, if we click on this, we're going to have good info on this particular exploit. Yeah, so we can see this is a version of our exploit 2.3.4, and we can even see the version of the exploit, because if you're carrying out an exploit using Metasploitable, mostly the exploit are categorized into different versions or operating systems. You can use the exploit for Windows to hack Mac OS, and you can use the exploit for Android to hack Windows. So you're going to use different exploit for different operating systems. So we can see that this exploit is Debian and it's Linux. Why? Because definitely Metasploitable is built on Linux, not Windows. So you're expected to see the exploit on Metasploitable also be on Debian Linux. So we can see that there's a different degree of severity. We can see this is high. Of course, 10.0 is quite on the high side according to the National Institute of Standard and Technology, the NIST. So we can see this severity is low. The impact score is 5.90. Is 5. So we can see that exploit on VS FTP is backdoor command execution. So you can as well use that, go to your Metasploitable and try to hack it. Of course, it's not going to, we just keep trying based on the available information you gather. So Metasploitable, of course, as we saw in our tools, is a tool for gathering information. So as much information you get on a target, the more you can be able to exploit it. If you have limited information in a target, it will be very difficult to hack it. So because there are scan outputted a version of the port we have, so we can see that we can get a lot of information on that particular target. So we can as well go back and check for other susceptible vulnerabilities that may work on this particular VSFTP 2.3.4 version. We can also check on GitHub and see what other hackers have found on that particular vulnerability. We can see it's still loading. So GitHub is also another platform you can check to see such particular vulnerability analysis on that particular target or system or even device. So GitHub is loading. Okay, So someone have already created an exploit on the Metasploitable with that particular version scan. You can see how to install it. We can see the git clone commands. I'm trying to see, because with this will give us the access to the source code, of course, but then that will be beyond the scope of this course. So we'll just run through and see what's been required to run this export. We can see this what you use. Yeah, you use export.py. It's built with Python, and of course you input the target address, and then you will see how it will exploit the system, and it will of course giving you this all the resources used. So basically this is a manual way of scanning for vulnerabilities. You can as well um, go to the other versions and use that for any of those. So another tool to use also is called Satsploit. Satsploit is also a tool used on the Linux machine as a tool to search. So maybe let's pick any of this. Let's even pick any of this. Let's still pick the VSFTP. Okay, so we copy it and we paste it. Okay, now we'll allow it to run and then to give us, of course, as we can see, while we manually scan for it using our browser, we saw a backdoor command execution on the Metasploitable, and you can see that using the Satsploit to search for it on your terminal also gives us that these are the exploit that you can use to hack into the VSFTP version on this port 21 TCP, and you can see the part. We can let's also try to use maybe let's see this. Okay, I control copy, control shift paste. All right, we're gonna use the exploit. Let's search for this version. Also, we can see the exploit that we'll use to hack the system. So okay, exploit. Okay, it's supposed to be search exploit. Pardon me. Search exploit. Okay. Sorry, we misspelled it. Oh, okay. Let's go to spelling. Okay, so let's run it and see if there may be an exploit we can use to attack. Of course, there's also a backdoor execution, and this even has a remote download execution, a remote denial of service. We can actually deny the service, DDoS or DOS on that particular framework. So this also gives us the path to use on to carry out the exploitation of this particular IP address. So basically, you can use the Nmap to perform a vulnerability analysis of whatever target you have. So even if you have um, a Facebook, you have a Google, you can carry out a search scan on this using the Nmap version scan to compute this. And remember, I told you the more information you have on your target, the more target is susceptible for attack. So a lot of IP addresses will hide their version results, so you don't see it, because with the version result you can imagine how much damage you could do on this particular network. So it's good due to based on security practices to always hide your IP addresses behind firewalls, and also restrict certain information being outputted when certain scans are being carried out. All right, thanks for watching.